Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we've got another Getting Started with Age of Sigmar 3rd edition video for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Disciples of Tzeentch, and in particular, we're going to look at the Tzaangor part of the army. This has been a video that I've wanted to do, and a couple of people have asked about building up Tzaangor armies, so we're going to talk about them. Now, I will say with Tzaangor and Tzeentch, it is probably the weakest part of the three different sorts of armies we can make, or four different parts, I guess, if we include the Slaves to Darkness heavy armies you could build. But that doesn't mean it's terrible. It's definitely got some work, and it's got some great units that can make up a full Beasts of Chaos themed Tzaangor army. And it's got some room for some great conversion work when you start thinking about Coalition Beasts of Chaos units. With that said, this video we're going to talk about what this Tzaangor army gives us. We'll then look at where we can start to purchase and get our army on the road, and then look at expanding it with some other units, and finally we'll look at a little sample army list at the end. And so, to start off with, Tzaangor are a mortal army. They are technically all Arcanites, which is pretty cool, so we get all those Arcanite abilities. So if you want to bring in some humans, you can definitely bring in some Arcanites there and mix that up. But we also, I guess, make great use of the Beasts of Chaos within the faction as well. Coalition Beasts of Chaos will be a massive part if you're building a Tzaangor army, as Tzaangor do have the Brayherd keyword, so a couple of units work well with them in sort of giving out abilities and stuff like that, and we'll talk about that in a second. This is definitely a combat-focused Tzeentch army, though it does have some ranged firepower in some of the units that we'll get talking about, but mostly you're going to have combat Tzeentch, which is pretty cool, and I guess a little bit different than everything else we normally see. And so, where do we get started with our Tzeentch army, I guess? So, to get started, we're going to look at a hero, and well, the only Tzaangor hero we have access to, and that is the Tzaangor Shaman. So the Tzaangor Shaman is a wizard. It gets one spell, one unbind, which is nice. It's mounted on a disc, meaning it's got a decent move of 16 and can fly. It also got a few extra attacks, so it's not too bad of a slash in combat, really. It's got Visions of the Future and Visions of Past, which can add one to the hit rolls for both Skyfires and Enlightened, depending on when they attack in the phase, which is pretty cool. And then Boon of Mutation, where he can turn some enemy models into Tzaangor, is pretty cool. He's not a bad wizard. 6 wounds, 5 up save is decent for a wizard, in all honesty. You know, most of them are 5 wounds on a 6 up save, so that's better than average. But like I said, he's got D3 attacks at 4s, 3s, round 1 damage D3 plus his wizard stuff, which is the exact same sort of profile, just 1 attack standard. So he's got 2, and then 2 attacks with his ritual dagger and 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1. So compared to an average wizard, he packs out a little bit more, which is cool. But his big thing is the fact he is a Tzaangor, so he's got all the cool keywords. He's got Beast of Chaos and Brayherd as keyword there, as well as all the Tzeentch stuff. Now the first unit we're going to look at is going to be Tzaangor. So Tzaangor are pretty cool. The first thing I guess to talk about with Tzaangor is what exactly they give us. So they give us a pretty decent combat unit. So 2 attacks at 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1, but the Great Blades get rend 1, damage 2, and they've also got a Vicious Beak on every model for 1 attack 4s and 5s, no rend damage 1. So 3 attacks per model is pretty solid if they've got the Savage Blades or the Savage Great Blade for 1. We've then got a Twist Spray who add ones to his hit roll, a Tzaangor Mutant who gets an extra attack. We've got an Icon Bearer who gets a certain special ability, which we'll go through in a second. And then we've also got the Brayhorn, which gives us run and charge, making great for some combat benefits. We've got Destined Mayhem as a rule, where we add 1 to wound rolls made with melee weapons by this unit if they're held within 12 inch of any friendly Arcanite heroes, aka our Tzaangor Shaman. Then we've got Arcanite Shields, which if we've taken those on some of the models there, we get ward save on them, which is nice. And then we've also got paired Savage Blades. If you've got 2 hand weapons on them, you get add 1 to your hit rolls, and you get add 1 to your attacks characteristics of all Tzaangor models if we have 9 or more models, which is pretty sweet. So then we start going up into, you know, some quite decent attack territory. This includes for the Great Blades. We've got Ornate Totem, which is the cool little rule we get for our Icon Bearers in the unit. So at the start of your hero phase, you pick one enemy unit within 18 inch that's visible to them. Roll a dice for each wizard that is within 9 inch of this unit. And for each 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Pretty cool. So we can do some little mortal wound splash to enemy units nearby, some wizards, which is nice. So you've got a decent combat unit here. I mean, with Savage Greatblades, 2 attacks at 4s, Ren 1, damage 2 is nice. But especially when you consider they might have +1 a wound on them near a hero, there'd be 4s and 3s, potentially, 3s and 3s is starting to look pretty decent for a combat unit. They do have 2 wounds each on a 5-up save and a move of 6, which isn't bad. So run and charge means we've got 12, means we've got a 24 in threat range with unit of Tzaangors. It's pretty nice. Where do we go, though, to look to expand our force? And, well, I don't think there's any better place to start than looking at the Tzaangor Enlightened. These are pretty much your normal sort of Tzaangor, but these are the more elite unit. So they've got Tzeentch and Spears with 3 attacks, 4s, 3s, Ren 1, damage 2, which is cool. Now, they get these, and they also have discs if they choose to be mounted, which can give them that little bit extra movement. So if they're on disc, they have 16 inch, otherwise they are 6-inch move. 4 wounds for the models on the discs, and the Tzaangor Enlightened on foot have 3 wounds, which is pretty cool. Note they do get, potentially the +1 to hit thanks to our Shaman using his little abilities, but we've got Babbling Streams of Secrets, where if an enemy unit fails a battle shock test within 9 inch of them, they add 1 to the number of models and flee, and they're also guided by the past, where in the combat phase you can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this unit, if any enemy units within 3 inch of this unit have already thought. So, pretty nice there as well. They've got teeth and horns thanks to their discs, so they can put out D3 attacks at 4s, 3s, Ren 1, damage D3. And as mentioned, there's Ancient Spears, and also, the Vicious Bite in there as well, for a potential of 7 attacks per model if mounted on a disc. The other model we would get inside this kit that we can build is the Archer variation known as Tzaangor Skyfires. Tzaangor Skyfires have Arrows of Fate, with 1 attack, 4s, 3s, Ren 1, damage D3, which is pretty nice. And they've got Guided by the Future, where in the combat phase you can get some extra rerolls to hit and wound, and also Judgment from Afar, where if the modified hit roll for an attack made by an Arrow of Fate is a 6, you inflict D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. So some ranged mortal wound output from our shooting is nice. Next up, we're going to talk about a couple of different Beasts of Chaos units, and first of all, the Beast Lord. The big rule I like on him is we've got the Grizzly Trophy command ability, where if any enemy models are slain by wounds inflicted by this model's attacks in the combat phase, you can add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Brayherd units within 18 inch of this model. This is pretty cool because he's not an Arcanite hero, but he does allow you to give you maybe a combat hero to get some extra abilities. And in addition, if enemy heroes or monsters are slain by wounds inflicted by him, you add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Brayherd units within 18 inch of him as well. So, pretty cool. He can give you an extra bit of movement. He can run and charge, which is nice, which means you can go in alongside some of your Brayherd units. He's a nice combat sort of option compared to, I guess, your Tzaangor Shamans, and a very cheap option as well. He comes in, I think, at 70 points cheaper than a Tzaangor Shaman. If you're running out of points and you're trying to get those +1s to hit in other ways than using command points, he's a solid option. The next option I've got is Grashrak. Grashrak is a special Brave Shaman. He's actually the Underworld's Warman one, but I really love his spell, Savage Bolt. So you pick an enemy unit, you do D3 mortal wounds to them, and then all your units that attack that unit get +1 to hit. This is just a solid ability. He also gives an extra 3 inch of movement to Brayherd units, and this is something that great Brave Shamans do in general, so the normal one will do this as well. Meaning, those Tzaangor go up to 9 inch move with run and charge is pretty solid. He's, a normal sort of caster. He comes with your own little retinue of dudes around him. They'll gain the Tzeentch keyword. He's a nice piece to have in your force. Definitely giving you some extra little benefits. But now that we've talked about this a little bit, let's go have a look at what we can bring into this army and how we can put it all together into a little sample army list. And so here we have a little sample army list. Now we've gone for no sub-faction with this particular army, as I don't think any of them really help with Tzaangor. Maybe, I guess, the Guild of Summoners could potentially be cool, because we're not going to be doing an awful lot of casting, so maybe trying to get that Lord of Change out for the cheaper cast is nice. I think maybe that's the only one that might work. Grand Strategy, Predator's Domain, just trying to take up the board. We've got some fast-moving units that can really help with this, and a Triumph for Inspired +1 to wound. I mean, it's just solid for us. Tzaangor Shaman is going to be our general, going to have the command trait Master of Magic, giving him some extra magical ability, and then we're going to have the Amulet of Destiny on him to make sure he stays alive. Law of Fate, we've got the Shield of Fate, which is nice, a good spell to give some rerolls to saves and stuff like that, potentially depending on the amount of Fate dice we have access to. And then we've got for Battleline 10 Tzaangor. Now we've done this in a particular way so we can cram in another 10 Tzaangor in the army as well, making them the Beast of Chaos Coalition unit of Tzaangor, which is a little bit cheaper, so they don't count as battle line for us, and you know, they don't do a couple of things, but it does mean we can get some extra Tzaangor bodies in there that work all the same. We've got 3 Tzaangor Skyfires in here as well, so 20 Tzaangor, 3 Skyfires, and a Tzaangor Shaman is a pretty solid base for a Tzaangor force. Definitely think about adding some Enlightened in next would be my big sort of suggestion, along with maybe a couple of Brave Shamans or something like that. But the army comes in at a battle regiment, so it's a 1-drop at 740 points, meaning, you know, there's a good chance we could get that triumph. No reinforced units and no allies, and 58 wounds is solid. That is a lot of wounds. You've got to remember those Tzaangors are 2 wounds each, so that means there is 40 wounds of Tzaangor on the table, not including the Skyfires and the Shaman. So, you know, that's a lot of wounds there. It's going to be hard for your opponent to chew through that many wounds in a smaller point game. I definitely think, you know, those Tzaangor units will stick around longer than you think. But this is the army we've got up. If you've been playing with Tzaangor, especially in Tzeentch, let us know how you're going. I'd be interested to see how they're doing in Beast of Chaos as well. If you're playing with them in Beast of Chaos, we'll be looking at a Beast of Chaos Tzaangor list later in the week as well. And so that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, leave us a comment and let us know what you liked about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community we've got going at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by joining our Patreon or YouTube members. Our Patreon and YouTube members help decide what content we do on the channel. If you'd like to help support, that would be greatly appreciated, and we'd love to give a shout out to everyone who has helped support the channel via Patreon, and that is our patrons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Donut226, Anton Nilsson, and JJ Austrian. And a special thank you to our YouTube members who, by the way, don't forget when we've got live streams and in the comments you can use our special emojis on YouTube. You amazing people. Thank you to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, and a special thank you to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who does an amazing job at all the background work in our Discord server. Thank you to both of you. You do an amazing job and do so much for the channel. That's it for today, folks, though. Stay safe and stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.